when we went on our first date, I had the brilliant idea of asking John if he wanted to have kids. And the reason I asked him is because I didn't want him to change his answer based on my answer. So I didn't want him to ask me first. I wanted to know his genuine feelings. So I was like, do you want to have kids? And he told me no. And so I was like, well, this will be a great first date, but I do want to have kids. So I'll probably never see you again.
Yeah.
And then he was like, wow, for the right person. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I was genuinely conflicted because I'm like, now he's changing his story. This is exactly what I didn't want him to do.
You can't win. You can't.
But also, like, that was also too that John didn't tell me that he already had a child, which I understand because, you know, when you have a kid, you don't want to like bring that up until far enough into dating where it's important to protect your child and, you know, that sort of thing. So in the moment, he didn't want to have any more kids. And I was like, well, I want to have kids. And I didn't know he already had a kid. So I was like, you know, I want to have a kid.
Right.
And I had always wanted to have a kid or two. I don't think I would have gone past two because I'm also terrified of the process of having a child. Like, it's a very terrifying thing. But so, yeah, like it started out kind of like, I was like, I don't know, because he changed his answer, which is not normally a good thing, ladies, if he changes his answer.
Yeah. I mean, there were some specific circumstances around that, which, you know, we discussed in the other episode, but I was not supposed to even be on the date. And, you know, obviously didn't want you to know I had kids. And so, but I did also, like, genuinely, as we talked and, you know, and I got to know you, then realized that I actually could be open to this. Like, it wasn't genuine. It wasn't just me turning around the answer just to hear what you, or just to say what you wanted to hear. But I was like, you know, the right person. Yeah, this like, well, and I was like, okay, well, Nicole could be a good mother. And part of the reason too, just to give a little bit of a backstory to, and just kind of my viewpoint was, or actually, I guess it's just a fast forward to when my daughter came over to our apartment and we had made these grapes. I think I talked about this before, but where you put like
it's
Kool-Aid,
like Jell-O.
Yeah, or Jell-O, that's it. Right, and they're in the freezer and whatever. Anyway, you know, Sophia, you know, she picks up some baggy grapes and and it comes apart and it goes all over the floor, right? And it's like these staining Jell-O. It's just a mess, right? And there's a dog, you know,
and dogs can't have grapes.
Yeah, it's like, and I thought, you know, and so in my mind, I'm like, oh, Nicole's going to freak out. And I wasn't even like, it's, you know, a big deal. Like, she's probably going to freak out. No yelling, no screaming, none of that. Just calmly helping Sophia pick up the grapes and making sure that Toto doesn't get the grapes. And I was like, okay, that's it. But my point is that, you know, my conception of why I didn't want to have kids or any more kids was partially because that's what I was used to expecting as a response. Mm-hmm. And so, like, a woman that can handle that situation and not lose her shit, yeah, that I would want to have a kid with.
Well, you had the privilege of like having a kid and introducing me to her and getting to actually like see our interaction, but some people don't. So the thing is like, and I'm not saying ask a man this on the first date. I'm a very bold person, so I didn't care. And, you know, I mean, if it is important to you and you have the balls to say it, I'd be like, okay, ask him. As a woman, ask him how he feels.
Yeah.
So, you know, don't like be like, I want to have kids. What do you want? Be like, do you want to have kids? So then that way you can get his genuine response. And I do believe you. I do believe that you were like, I would have another child for you. Right. Like, I think that was very genuine. But the thing is, like, you also don't want to go on a date and you want kids and a guy be like, I don't want kids, like, no matter what. And then try to convince him to have kids or vice versa, because that's just going to lead to like a rift in your marriage, a rift with your child, you know, between them probably, or some sort of thing. And that's just not, you know, not a good thing. And I do think that children is a make or break thing for relationships. Like, I feel like unless it's someone like you where you're like, I would genuinely do this, and like as the other person, you can feel that genuine like answer from them and know that what they're saying is true, then I would say if you guys have differing views, to go separate ways and to at least ask it early enough. I'm not saying first date if you're, you know, like not trying to do that on the first date, but early enough where you can end things without it being too messy.
Too messy. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I probably would push back a little bit on it, saying that like if the relationship dynamic is such, then you can figure out that thing. You know, I mean, some people are just really opposed or really want to, you know, but I do think that if the relationship, you know, is dynamic, like if you're a really good compatible match, that you can kind of sense that out and figure that out. So, for example, I guess I would say, you know, if you really care about someone, unless there's some really good reason why you don't want to have kids or more kids or whatever it is, and that person, and you're with someone who really does want to have kids and that's really important to them, then you would probably be more likely to say, okay, I would do that with this person, like, you know. So I think that you might shut yourself off from opportunities that could work out by taking their first answer when you might not even really know. Like it's kind of unfair to give that answer because it is situational, right? So people have in their mind like ahead of
most
time.
Most people know like ahead of time whether they want to have kids, whether they want to have more kids.
Yeah.
And it is, I feel like, slippery to base that. Like, I get your reasoning, like you based it on me and how I acted. But sometimes I'm like, I don't know if that's a good enough answer, because what if for some reason you and your spouse or the person you're with end up having something happen and you're not together anymore and you really wanted to have a child because of the person. Like, yes, you know that person will still be a good mother or a good father.
Yeah.
But it's like it was based on this other thing rather than like wanting to have a child.